All right. Like Eric said, I did fine woodworking for my senior learning expedition. That entailed making this table and doing some turnings that I have back here. I started turning about 2 years ago, and it was just on an old little lathe. It's about 30 years old, and it didn't run very well. So I began my passion there, and it just skyrocketed. A year after I got that lathe, I saved up my money and bought a nice 200-pound cast iron beast. It's awesome. And I got a bunch of tools, and I started turning more seriously. And that really kicked off my passion for woodworking. So these are some of the pieces I have. This is a natural edge bowl. It is a piece of spalted hackberry. It's about 3 years old, or 2 years old, just the piece of wood itself. The tree is much older. And then this is a piece of olive wood. Each bowl starts off as a square blank or a round log, and then it's turned down into each individual piece. When I'm turning, I feel focused. I feel alive. I can focus on my thoughts. I can concentrate on my thoughts, and I can put my energy into the bowl. And that is something I had never experienced full on. My heart had never been poured into something like it had been poured into woodworking. When I woodwork, I can see the way the wood has been formed over time. I can see how beautiful each individual piece is and how different and unique every piece of wood is. And that's all formed by the worlds around us. All the variables changing constantly. Every second is a series of millions of variables changing every second, every millisecond beyond that. And it's just incredible to see in real life, in my bowls, in my table, and all of you. It's just an amazing feeling. So after I began my turning, I decided I would like to go to Red Rocks Community College and pursue fine woodworking, and that's when I started this. I started my table about 3 months ago, and it just, I was terrified at first. I was like, I can't do this, because it's a long, involved process. It's a very long and involved process. It began with picking out my wood. So there's 3 different types of wood here. You have a walnut top, you have maple on the sides, it's called wormy maple, and then you have white maple legs. So the legs need to be a long, straight grain for strength and stability in the piece. The aprons need to be preferably an accent wood that has some beautiful pattern on it, and luckily I picked a very good piece. And then the walnut top any wood would be fine for a top, but I chose the walnut because it has a pattern on it. This is actually 2 pieces of wood glued together. You can see a small seam right in the center. And so going through the process of building this, I learned a lot about myself as a woodworker, as a craftsman, and most importantly, a learner. And that is one of the most valuable lessons I've ever taken from building anything. Building this table taught me that failure is not failure, it's learning. Failure to cut something straight, cut something sideways, it doesn't matter. It's, as long as you're doing something to push yourself forward, you are gaining the knowledge and you are learning. It doesn't matter how bad you screw up. It doesn't matter what you do. It's all learning. And that was one of the biggest blockades I overtook in my building of the table. Over this time woodworking, I have also made this piece down here. It is a Denver skyline. And this is 2 pieces of wood from our prom 2 years ago. And I just cut off the knots on the side. And then this is actually a piece from Dinkle's shop. It was an old cutting board that they just cut off the end of because all the edges were jagged. And then this is a piece of spalted hackberry that actually went to one of the logs that was on this bowl. So it came from Denver, it's all made in Denver, and it is Denver. So. And, the experience of woodworking is being lost. Woodworking in schools is being lost because people fear that their children are going to get hurt, but that's the best way to learn. The best way to learn is by getting out there, going for it, doing it, getting hurt, because no matter what you do, you're going to get hurt. There's odds of getting hurt in everything you do every day, and you might as well make something beautiful out of it. Thank you.
I have questions.
Oh, I forgot. I'm not doing that again. Any questions? Go for it. What now? So the process of making the bowl is, I start with a chunk of wood. It looks nothing like this. And I have something called a wood lathe, and it sits between two spikes, and it spins it. And so as it spins, I have a very sharp chisel, and I just run it along and shape it as I'd like. So I can cut off as much material, I can make it any shape I want. And so once that is done, and I have the rough shape, it's not hollow yet. So I stick it on a chuck, grabs it, and then I hollow out the inside, and you have a bowl. Yeah. Any other questions? Go for it. Oh, I have all my fingers, luckily. I mean, I've gotten a couple cuts on one hand. I think I got 12 stitches in one hand.
I have pictures of it.
Yeah. 12 stitches. Don't cut yourself. All right. Any more questions? What? Yeah, bub?
How long does it take for you to make one bowl?
Depends on the size of the bowl and the type of wood that it is, because the different woods have different densities. So this particular bowl, the one that I was showing earlier, probably took about 2 hours to make with all the sanding and all the cutting. You have to sharpen your tools periodically because it's a relatively hard wood. And you'd be surprised, but this little bowl probably took just as long because there's a lot of silicone in this. So there's a lot of sand, a glass inside this wood that has built up over time, and it makes it really hard to cut. It makes the tools, they bite. It's when the tool takes too big of a chunk of wood and it throws the tool. So this one took a lot longer just because of the type of wood it is. Mom? Oh, yeah. My mom wants me to show you my ornament. I made an ornament. It's got a ring on it. It's kind of cool.
No, show them that. I don't think people are picking up what
I'm
there's a
putting.
little ring on this really delicate piece in the middle that is free. That was part of the bigger piece around it to begin with. I myself am taking a turning class right now. This blows my mind.